Welcome to a new episode of Inside the Economist's Mind.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving deep into a really crucial skill for anyone in economics or, frankly, anyone navigating today's world: adaptability. We'll be looking at this through the lens of those behavioral interview questions economists often get asked.
Right, and we've got some really good material to work with, some excerpts from Economist Adaptability, interview questions and answers. Gives these great real-world scenarios.
And responses.
And also how to answer behavioral interview questions in economics, which gives more the strategy behind it all.
Exactly. So our mission for you today is to really grasp why adaptability is so fundamental in economics. It's not just a buzzword.
Not at all.
We want to see how economists actually, use this skill day to day. Understanding these questions and frameworks like the STAR method we'll discuss gives you a real window into how economists think, how they problem solve when things get unpredictable.
Okay, so where should we start? The core idea, maybe. Why adaptability matters so much for economists.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, the economic environment is just inherently dynamic, isn't it? I mean, you've constantly got new policies coming in, global market shifts, totally unexpected events like, well, pandemics or natural disasters.
Change fast.
Exactly. So an economist who can't adjust, their analysis just becomes obsolete very quickly.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And for you, listening, if you're keen on gaining knowledge quickly and deeply, think of adaptability as like the key to navigating all this complexity. It's not just about what you know.
Right.
It's about applying that knowledge when things are, well, new or totally unexpected. And our first source has some perfect examples.
It really does. Let's take that first scenario. You've got a junior economist, right? Deep in analyzing a trade agreement. Then what happens?
Bam. Politics intervenes. New leadership, different priorities, and that trade deal they were working on suddenly shelved.
Right. So the key here is the reaction, the adaptable reaction.
So what do? Just stop.
No, not at all. This economist, they didn't just freeze. They actively got to grips with the new policies, talked to colleagues who knew that area, and actually restructure their whole analytical model.
Wow, okay.
And what's interesting is how they use their fundamental understanding, things like supply and demand shocks, even though the shock itself changed, from a trade policy issue to a political one. That basic econ knowledge let them reframe quickly.
And the result? Did it work out?
It did. They delivered a totally new analysis, met the new deadline, and even got recognized for it in their performance review.
So that really shows that ability to pivot, to apply those core skills to something completely unforeseen.
Precisely. It wasn't about sticking rigidly to the old plan. It was about flexibly using their toolkit for the new situation.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, the second scenario, this one really ramps up the pressure. It's a crisis.
Yes. An economist is leading this project on consumer spending trends, pretty standard stuff, and then a major natural disaster hits. Suddenly, everything changes.
Instant reshuffle of priorities, I imagine.
Completely. The focus immediately shifts to what's the economic impact of this disaster? Short-term, long-term. You're thinking about supply chain disruptions, how consumer demand might shift, maybe the need for fiscal stimulus, government spending.
All hands on deck.
Yeah.
And the actions they took sound pretty intense.
They were. Convening a rapid response team, shifting resources around, working with regional specialists, trying to get real-time data. It was a full mobilization.
Okay, off.
Significant. They produced timely analysis that was genuinely crucial for the government emergency response. The whole institution actually got commended for being so agile.
So adaptability isn't just individual, it can be organizational too.
Absolutely. It's about delivering those critical insights when they're most needed, even if it means dropping other important work for a while.
Okay, scenario 3 hits closer to home for many people, I think. Communication.
Ah, yes. The classic challenge.
An economist presents complex forecasts, uses all the technical jargon, beta-heavy slides, and the audience, non-specialists, they just tune out.
Happens all the time. And this really shows another side of adaptability, changing how you communicate. The goal isn't just to present data, it's making sure people actually understand it and can use it for decisions.
So what did they change? How did they adapt their style?
They basically flipped the script, simplified the language, used more visuals instead of just dense tables, tried to connect the economic ideas to things people experience every day.
Made it relatable.
Exactly. And importantly, They encouraged questions, made it more of a dialogue. It makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we all need to stop and ask, am I actually getting this across effectively?
It's so important, and the result was good.
Yes, much better engagement from stakeholders. And the forecast actually got used properly in strategic planning. So the takeaway is adaptability isn't just technical skill, it's also about those interpersonal skills, tailoring your message.
Definitely. Okay, final scenario from this source tackles something really common in economic work. Data problems.
Uh-huh. The data's never perfect, is it?
Right. So this economist is doing a cost-benefit analysis for, say, an infrastructure project. But they hit a wall. No reliable regional economic data.
Which is a big problem for a cost-benefit analysis, where you're trying to weigh up all the pros and cons financially.
So what do? Give up.
No, this is where resourcefulness comes in. Instead of just saying can't be done, they got creative. They reached out to universities, research groups looking for unpublished data. They used proxy indicators.
Heard of those, exactly.
Proxy indicators are basically stand-ins, data points that aren't a direct measure of what you need, but they correlate well enough to give you a reasonable estimate when the direct data just isn't there.
Okay, makes sense.
And they also did sensitivity analyses, testing how much the results would change if the uncertain data points were different. It helps show how robust the conclusion is despite the data issues.
So what was the final outcome?
They delivered a solid analysis. Crucially, they were upfront about the data limitations, but they still provided valuable insights. And the stakeholders actually appreciated that transparency and the innovative approach.
So adaptability here means finding workarounds, being creative with limitations, and being honest about them.
Exactly. You can still produce valuable work even when things aren't ideal.
These scenarios paint a really clear picture of adaptability in action. Now, our second source gets into the how do you actually show this adaptability, especially in, say, an interview. And it highlights the STAR method.
Yes, STAR. Situation, task, action, result. It's such a useful framework, not just for interviews, really, but for thinking through your experiences clearly.
Okay, let's break that down. Situation, task.
Right. Situation, set the scene. What was the context? Task, what was your specific job or goal in that situation?
Action. This is the key part for adaptability, right? What did you do?
Exactly. What steps did you take? How did you adjust your approach when things changed or got tricky? This is where you detail your adaptable behavior.
And finally, result. The outcome.
Yes, what happened because of your actions? And crucially, what did you learn? Using STAR lets you tell a clear story. Here was the challenge, situation. Here's what I needed to do, task. Here's how I adjusted and tackled it, action. And here's the positive outcome thanks to that flexibility result.
It makes it really easy for someone listening, like an interviewer, to follow your thinking and see the adaptability clearly. Our source really emphasizes using it for clarity and conciseness.
Definitely. And beyond just STAR, the source gives other great tips for demonstrating adaptability. A big one is research. Research the employer, the role you're interviewing for.
Why is that so important for showing you're adaptable? Seems more like preparation.
It is preparation, but it shows adaptability because it lets you tailor your examples. If you understand their challenges, their priorities, you can pick stories from your past that directly speak to those needs.
I see. So you're showing you can adapt your experience to their context.
Precisely. It shows you've thought about how your adaptability can actually help them.
Smart. What else?
Prepare multiple examples. Don't just rely on one story. Pull from different areas, work, sure, but also maybe academic projects, volunteering, anywhere you faced a challenge and had to adjust.
Shows it's a consistent trait, not just a one-off.
Right, and it gives you more options to choose the most relevant story during the conversation.
What about in the interview itself?
Listen carefully. Really listen to the question being asked. And don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you need it.
That seems basic, but important.
It is. Adaptability starts with understanding the situation correctly. Asking for clarification shows you're thoughtful and want to give a genuinely relevant answer, not just recite a prepared script.
Good point. And how about talking about times when things maybe didn't go perfectly? Mistakes or setbacks?
Be honest, but frame it positively. Focus on what you learned. Show resilience. Talk about how the experience helped you refine your approach for the future. The source even suggests subtly weaving in economic thinking here, like mentioning how you considered opportunity cost, the value of the next best thing you gave up when making a decision, or maybe acknowledging risk aversion. It shows you apply that economic mindset even when reflecting on challenges.
That's a nice touch. Integrates the subject matter expertise with the soft skill. Any final tips from that source?
Yeah, a really proactive one. Ask them about upcoming challenges or projects their team is facing.
Oh, interesting. Why?
It gives you another chance to tailor your examples on the fly, connecting your adaptability directly to their current needs. It shows you're forward thinking and already considering how you'd adapt within their team.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, adaptability isn't just a nice to have for economists, it's really core to what they do.
Absolutely fundamental. Handling unexpected shifts, juggling priorities, communicating effectively to different people, finding ways around obstacles. It's constant.
And showing this adaptability, whether day to day or in an interview, comes down to things like using structured thinking like STAR, preparing relevant examples, listening well, and really emphasizing learning and growth.
Exactly. It's about proving you can navigate that constant change effectively.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering all these examples, how might this very ability to adapt be the thing that keeps fundamental economic principles relevant and useful in a world that's changing faster than ever?
That's a deep question. How does the theory itself adapt, or how do economists adapt its application?
Something to chew on, perhaps thinking about how you adapt in your own work or interests. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for the great discussion.